Seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. We are no longer a blog talk radio program that is dedicated rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. I was just talking to Paul right before we went live that the blog talk radio channel as what? How would you describe it, Paul? It's gone crashed? Or...
I think that they have decided that Global Hatred Radio is not worth putting up any place because they only they get about an average of 1 to 10 people listening now.
Yeah, I mean it's but that's neither here nor there. I mean it's just an extra burden that we have to go through.
Oh, it's tiresome. It's tiresome.
It is. It's a lot of work having to get that back up. But anyway, we are here every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for about 2 hours, and we talk about topics, subjects, or current events that deal with Christianity and Islam. We did have an interesting discussion going before we went live. Some of you guys ought to start joining us before we go live. I'm not sure exactly how you would do that, but you do need to join us. But we were having a discussion about what's going on in Clubhouse and a couple of the rooms with Catholics, and I do not bash other Christians on this show. I will not, and especially Catholics, because a lot of people like to take their shots at Catholics, and that's their prerogative. But I will not get in disputes with other like-minded Christians, even if they are Catholics, Protestants, Baptists, whatever. But these group of gentlemen that are purporting to be Catholics are going around condemning Protestants, saying that, if you don't believe, and this was what the discussion was about, the perpetual virginity of Mary, if you do not believe that Mary was perpetually a virgin her entire life, then you are condemned to hell. And I asked that, because that sounded to me like being out there really far. I mean, that's, you can have your beliefs according to your denominational system, but I don't, if you profess that Jesus Christ is Lord and that God raised him from the dead, that's pretty much Romans 10:9 stuff. And now you're going outside of that. And if you want to do that, again, that's your business, but please save the condemnation for the real enemies of Christ, not your brothers and sisters. That's all I would ask. Okay, so today we're going to be going through a debate. I know, folks, this has grown. I've gotten weary of this myself. 3 weeks ago, we reviewed last January of 2022's debate between David Wood and Kenny Bomer on the age of Aisha at their marriage. Was it moral? as a prelude to the debate that they had the following week, another part 2 of that same debate. And then we reviewed that debate, and that was painful. And then last week we reviewed Kenny's review of his debate, talking about how well he did. And we know, these guys are delusional. They just are. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, if you think that you won that debate, now I made my points. Well, you made your points, but your points are so screwed up that it completely destroys the basis for your beliefs. That's just what he did. Oh, that's not true. That's not true, even though it says it and everybody else says it's true, and all of your most trusted sources say it's true. Okay. Anyway, and so this week, what Rad has done, because Rad has a life, he went in and he reviewed the debate between Daniel Pikachu. And believe me, when I went looking for a graphic for this week's show, I got all of these Pokemon cards graphics, because Pikachu is evidently a Pokemon character. Am I right on this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. At least somebody admits it anyway. So that was kind of fun to do. But anyway, so we're going to review this debate, because this Daniel Pikachu guy, and the reason why I put him in the title of the show, he's a real Muslim, is because he actually believes that having a 54-year-old man crawl on top of a 9-year-old girl is okay. As a matter of fact, he thinks it is halal. Is that the right word? Halal, not haram. Halal. He thinks it's halal. It's okay to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of these clips. Rad sent me 19, and I tried to endure all of them. And I tell you what, when you say you took one for the team, I took one for the team, having to listen to this guy for, golly, it's sick. Okay, but anyway, we're going to let, admin note. Tuesday morning, I'm going to go live, but it's just going to be me and Bob the Builder. I'm going to be interviewing Bob the Builder from Speaker's Corner, and we are going to be talking about his ministry and what he does. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to place, I've been going through and slicing and dicing some clips from Hamza Mayet. This guy's a character, guys. I mean, I encourage you to watch the clips that we go through. We might even go through some of the clips next week on the show that I have down. This guy is, you talk about being dishonest. Oh my goodness, this guy's, anyway. Okay, so Rad, are you ready? Oh, and by the way, Rad has instructed all of us that he is going to have to take some time off from this show, because he does not know how to run a timer when preparing his pork ribs, or whatever he's. What are you cooking?
These are hollow ribs, pork spare ribs. They're 100% hollow from Allah. They are kosher approved. Okay, they are supreme because I have made them. Therefore, I have made them halal, and I have made them kosher as well. But yes, I will have to take a break here. Actually, I had to just refuel. I ran out of fire starter. I'm like, oh my god, I just checked it, but I put colds in there. So, but anyway, that's beside the point.
So everybody tried to distract Rad when he has to go out there, so he forgets and then burns them.
You know what? It sucks.
No, don't
play something else here. Give me a minute. Talks amongst yourselves here. Let me find it, because you're gonna love it, because it kind of goes with what we're talking about here. And I just had it, and now I can't find it. Let's see, one more. I'll try one more. Let's see here. All right. I just had it. I thought I put it in the playlist. Hold on.
The answer is no. No, there isn't. That's the problem, because it says Jesus was with his brethren.
The concept of virgin perpetually, that's close to the concept of these Corys.
Yeah.
Let me
the same lines.
Let me share my screen here real quick.
I just shared mine. Now I got to
unshare
and go through
yours.
I answered that question. I answered that question in chat. It just shows how ignorant the Muslims, like some people are. like they don't know.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, we're ready. This is just a brief introduction to the
Oh my
comparison.
gosh! All
Here
right,
we go.
here we go.
This is a blast from the past. Here we go. Wait. Oh, you know what?
I saw
Hold
this.
on.
I saw this.
There we go. Where is it? Oh, okay. Here we go. Tell me you can hear
Unmute
it.
it. There we go.
You just said that semen can't live for more than 7 days.
Mhm.
But brother, each and every person on this earth,
Uh-huh.
I'll be 47 years old in
Mhm.
just a few weeks.
Mhm.
And guess what? I used to be sperm myself. You used to be sperm. Don't tell me that sperm can't live in the womb of a woman more than 7 days.
So okay. That's a blast from the past from Kenny's first interaction with Christian Prince, and he thought he won that debate as well. But that's pretty much what we're dealing with when we deal with the imam from Texas, the freshman
Doctoral student.
doctoral student, and Fists of Fury. He never beat his wife, even though he punched her in the head. But he never beat his wife, and he did not spend a year in prison, just in jail. And yeah. But now this is refreshing, though. This is a debate, people, that happened right before Kenny's debate. I actually think this should have been the closing debate, and I actually think David Wood should have debated this guy. Because in my opinion, even though the Christian did very well, obviously, there were some things that he just focused on kind of wrong material, and it got distracted, which I will explain when we go through these clips, okay? But this Muslim, this Daniel Pikachu, this Daniel Pikachu, is a real. He doesn't just wear the dress, as you will see. He actually believes, okay, that Muhammad is the best example of mankind, and he actually believes the Islamic halal, kosher, Sahih sources. He actually believes the Islamic jurisprudence, the Islamic scholars. He actually believes, okay, this stuff. He's a true believer in Islam. Okay, so I do respect that. And I think we all should respect that. We all should respect anybody that, we respect the fact that they truly believe in something. They're not having to make up their own crazy cockamamie Kenny Islam religion, okay? Because they have morals that are based on their kaffirness, okay? You know what I mean? Yeah,
They're based on what? They're kaffirness. What?
Kaffirness. Yeah, that's what I call it, kaffirness. Because
well, I see what you're saying. Right. Okay.
These reverted Muslims, they develop morals in the Kafir system, so they have morals, and they can't resolve those morals with the morality of Islam, because that's what this truly is. This is two different levels of morality. Okay, two different things of morality. There's Islam's morality and there's our morality. I say our morality obviously is superior. But that's because, I'm a whatchamacallit. Anyway, so with further ado, oh yeah, it's half of his chromosomes. Yeah. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get to the first clip here, people. Go ahead and pull that up.
All right. Okay, so tell me if you can hear it right away. Here, okay, I'm going to play.
Oh.
No, we cannot hear it.
Okay, his name is Daniel Hakito.
Can you hear it or no?
No,
his name is Daniel Hak. It's not Pikachu. It's Hak. Oh no, it's Hakitu. It starts with an H.
I don't know. He's just a Muslim in the funny dress with the funny hat.
Yeah. He works for. I think he works for ISNA, if I remember right.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's see. Stop screen. Share screen. Okay.
Make sure you click on the thingamajig.
Okay, I tell you what I got to do. I got to back out of this completely and bring up a different browser because the browser's not recognizing it. So just give me a second here. This is not going to take.
We are professionals, people. We are.
Well, the way that you set my computer up there, Rad, has this all set up. The way that you set it up, the default browser is what is this thing? I don't even know what the default browser is. Let me see here. The default browser is Edge.
Oh, well, we can change that.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Okay, so let's present. Hold on. Present. Why is this not working? Oh, I see why. Cancel. Okay, so present. Share screen. David completed. Okay, so do we see this now?
We
All
see
right.
it.
All right.
But even in
Can you hear
Rewind
that?
it. Yeah, we can hear it. Turn it up. Turn it up.
All right, here we go.
But even in normal environments, 1% of girls have their periods by age 8 and 4% have them by age 9. This means that they have completed puberty by ages 8 or 9.
Okay. So first off, this is from his opening. I think it's the conclusion of his opening. So he opens right away with the towel. Okay, he believes that if a young girl, for some reason, at the age of 9 or the age of 8, has her period, she's completed puberty. She is ready for sexual intercourse. Okay, she is ready to be married off. She's ready to be have sexual intercourse and stuff like that. Now he does bring up in later parts, and this is kind of the Muslim escape hatch. They said, "Well, no, only if the parents approve, only if the parents feel ready." Okay, that may be, but think about this. Put this in a very poor, illiterate, ignorant society in the middle of the desert. Okay, no, seriously, where they have like 5 or 6 children they gotta feed, and if they can get rid of one of their daughters at the age of 9, and Allah says it's okay that the man can have sex with her, they're perfectly willing to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, people have done more horrible things to children than that. Do you see what I'm saying, people? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
When he's saying that girls have completed puberty by the age of 8 or 9, that's a lie. That's simply not
He's
true.
not aware. He's not aware of when they start. Is that's a statement that he's ignorant?
Well,
Yeah,
it isn't just where they start, but it's not just. It's just not menstruating, though. I mean, it's just the development of the body, and this is why when we talk about them, this is the 4th week in a row that we're talking about this, and I'm going to prepare to do voodoo just as soon as the show is over because I'm tired of having to go through this mess. But a girl's body has to develop in order to
It
birth
takes time. It's years. I mean,
it's right.
Puberty
It
doesn't
takes
happen
years.
overnight.
Crazy.
It's a process of years. It's not done overnight.
And
And
this-
that is a statement of ignorance. Considering his background in this and that he went to Harvard, it's quite a statement against the education process at Harvard.
Well, here's another thing that I wanted to point out, and this is the mistake of the Christian, and this is our mistake as well. We deal with age numbers. We shouldn't deal with age numbers. We should deal with the classic, well, not the classical, but the modern thing of the Tanner stages. A 9-year-old is Tanner stage 2. Okay, all right, and that's what we got to deal with here. Even if she has her period or not, she's still Tanner stage 2 at this point. Okay. And because that leads into other things that he actually brings up regarding the transsexualization of children, which is kind of interesting, which we can get to. It's at the end. But anyway, so that's how he starts off. Let's play the next clip, please. There we go.
Now here's the million-dollar question. How do children deal with those desires? I want all the opponents of child marriage to give us a practical solution for all the sexually frustrated minors out there, because those hormones hit like a tsunami, creating desires that need an outlet. The outlet promoted in society.
Okay, I'm sorry, I went a little too far on that.
Okay, so let's just briefly touch on this. So his main point is that, and he does actually have a valid point on this.
No, he doesn't.
Hold on. We have pushed the age of marriage. Okay, all right. No, because he doesn't go into things. Why is it all of a sudden 18? Why was when it was younger? It's never 9. Okay, it was it was still 12, 14, whatever. 13 Jewish would be because they'd be bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah or whatever it's called for the female. Okay, but that would be a courtship then. That would be the intendant. Okay, but they would still marry relatively young at 15, 16. Okay. This is, in the ancient world, and there is a reason for that. One, people died, okay, at a relatively early age, and 2, okay, well, yeah, they had to reproduce and so on and so forth, and they had to be working on the field, working on the farm, working for a household. They just couldn't be sitting around playing with dolls, right? Okay, so he does bring up some valid points, and then it did become all of a sudden we went to an industrialized area, so now children had to be educated to operate the machinery. Fair enough. So let's move to 18. But he does bring up this valid thing. where children are taught now, especially in high school, no, don't get married. Go to college first, then get married. And if they're in college, no, wait till after you graduate college, then get married. Or wait till you get married until after you start a career, then you can get married. You see what I'm saying? Okay, they push it forward and forward. And this is something that is really happening in our society. So he does bring up valid points in that area. But his solution to let 54-year-old men marry 9-year-old girls and have sex with them clearly is not the solution. But here he brings up the whole point, and he actually equates this, and I don't know if I have other clips, that somehow Christians are in favor of 9 and 10-year-olds having sex with each other. No. That somehow we're in favor of pornography and masturbation and all that stuff, okay? And adultery and sexting and all that stuff for children. Okay, no, we're not. But his solution is marry them off at 9 years old to 54-year-old men. And no, that is not the solution. Okay? All right? Some very valid points. Okay? Don't get me wrong. They are valid points, in my opinion. But that is not the solution. Now, I do believe that we should go back to the way it was, where you do a courtship, you have an intended in high school. It's just not date 1, 2. You know what I mean? Like, Eric, you married your high school sweetheart, right? She was your intended. You knew that you were going in that direction, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I know a lot of people that are doing that have done that in high school, but the majority do not anymore, and that's the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? But either way, it's a valid point. But his solution, Islam is the solution, is clearly not the solution. Anyway, thoughts and opinions on that?
Yes, many.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. He says, how do you deal with these desires? Just like any other desire that is wrong, you don't act out on it. You ask God to give you the patience and the discernment on how to deal with it.
And lots of exercise.
Well, that helps. But what I'm saying is that you just do not give in to. We don't give in to. Do we give in to all of our passions and our desires? I mean, that's just complete lack of discipline. And so you have to have and I understand what he's saying. I don't agree with it, but I do understand the point that he's trying to make. But this is where we're talking about disciplining the mind, disciplining the body, and following through on that. And then he said, he talked about educating kids, or I think you commented on that, Brad. By we see a lot of people going to college right out of high school. Is that when they need to be going to college, right out of high school? I mean, that's even a better question. Why don't we wait to go to college if we're going to go to college? Because going to college is really not a necessary thing in order to be successful in life. It helps. This is true. Don't get me wrong. I'm college educated myself, but it's not the end all be all. So if you're like me, I never went to college traditionally. I went to college at night. I took all my undergrad work was done at night while I was in the Army. I get up in the morning at 5 o'clock. I'd work all day, get off at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then 5:30 to 8:30 at night, I'd be in a college class. So there's ways to do it. It's hard. This is true. But the traditional way that we're doing it here, we should take a look at that. But even if he's right, let's just pretend he's right for a second. He's not, but let's just pretend he's right. Okay. So we do marry him off at a younger age. When is that girl going to go to college then? Using the traditional format? She's not, and she's going to be shut out of society in any way to advance herself on her own accord. She's going to be completely dependent upon her husband. And this is what Islamic society does. It makes the woman completely dependent upon the husband. And so therefore they will do anything, even accepting multiple wives. So I think this is another way of men subjecting women. That's my personal opinion. And it's also the right answer to your question. Anybody else? Anybody else? Really? This whole panel. I see the chats.
Wrong. It's wrong, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for somebody speaking up. Thank you. Let's see here. This Built for Speed says a twisted world and life view. This is what Sharia law teaches Islam. This religious masquerade.
His name is Hakakitaju. It's not Pikachu like a character of So it's Hakakitaju.
Okay, and I hate to say this. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
He sounds like a cartoon character, but yeah.
Okay. That means that I would have to care enough in order to pronounce his name correctly. His name's Pikachu. Daniel Pikachu. Yabba dabba doo. All these things. Because anybody that, and here's why. Anybody that would believe and go out and support marrying little girls like that, I'm not going to take the time to learn their name. I'm sorry. And I appreciate you doing that for us, Paul. You took one for the team. Way to go.
For those of you, I put the link in the YouTube, and what I'm saying is the biggest concern that's out there. A Rare Foundation did an article about how he's trying to radicalize children for Islam, and that is scary. So please do go look at that one. I mean, if this is the guy who's trying to influence your children towards it's okay to have sex with, for men who are 50 years old to have sex with children, something's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. I just look at private message. You see that one from Rad in private messages? Stepping away to check on the ribs in the middle of the show that I'm running. Okay, this is going to work out well. Well, we're going to play another clip while he's gone, and then we'll see if he can figure out what we're talking about when he gets back. Okay, let's go to this one. All right.
The outlet promoted in society today is an absolute disaster. Kids are taught sex ed as early as 9, and some experts want sex ed in kindergarten. The shocking news recently.
Okay, so sex ed at 9. Do we teach kids that young about sex ed? 9 years old? I mean, in their school?
There is a movement in education circles to educate kindergartners. So he is not wrong about that movement. There is an attempt, but they have been trying to do this, at least in liberal states like New York. California, they actually do teach some in kindergarten. Don't forget that when they start teaching stranger danger and other things that are like the results of this.
What's stranger danger? What's that? What is that?
Don't talk to strangers. No, okay. So let me just
interject
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just get back here. Okay, let's get focused. I'm back from checking the ribs. Fall off the bone. One bone already fell off. But anyway, we got another hour to go. See, this is the difference, Eric. This is perfection. Anyway, got them all sauced up. Gonna tack it up. Gonna firm it up. It's great. I just hope the ribs aren't spoiled because I took them out last week for a couple days, and then it was raining, so I had to refreeze them. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'll probably put myself. But anyway, so getting back to this clip, the reason why I put this clip in there, well, just to answer your question, Eric. Yeah. What are you doing? Somebody's playing something. Oh, Issa's talking to someone.
Yeah, I went to a funeral this morning, so that's right.
Issa, he's flirting with some girl.
Yeah, I wanted to see my friends here.
All right, let me mute
Go ahead,
him.
mute him.
How do I mute him?
Around 1 o'clock, so I had
Just
to go.
click that little mic. There you go.
Okay. All right. So no, the reason why I put this in, remember, he's saying that if a girl has her period at 9, she's completed she's completed puberty. Well, now he's complaining about teaching 9-year-old sex education. Why would he be in? Why? Do you see what I'm saying? This is the difference in his mentality. Why would he be against that? If he is arguing that it is halal from Allah to marry 9-year-olds, then wouldn't he want his future 9-year-old bride to be somewhat educated? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. But no, to answer your question, Eric, yes, in woke schools, they're not only teaching 9-year-olds sex education, they're teaching them all kinds of stuff they should not be taught. But this is not the topic for that discussion. Anyway, let's continue on. Let's play the next clip because it gets better. Well, it gets worse.
Recently is that they started to teach kindergartners how to masturbate. Hopefully, all Muslims.
Well, just okay. So again, we are against
California.
that.
That's California.
That's California. We are against that, obviously. So that's a dead issue. I just wanted to throw that in there. But continue on. But again, why would he be against that? Which will learn more. Keep playing.
Hopefully, all Muslims and Christians here agree that fornication, masturbation, and pornography are not acceptable solutions. Rather, these practices destroy the moral fabric of society and corrupt the soul. Sadly,
now, Christian, stop, Christian. Okay, do we agree on that? That these things are not the solution. These things are wrong. These things should not be taught, practiced, or whatever to teenagers, right?
Yeah, I would hope we would all agree.
Of
that those are
course.
wrong. Yes.
Okay, so he's bringing up a red herring here.
Of
He's
course.
bringing up a red herring. But his solution, now we're going to get into his solution. So go ahead and play the next clip, please.
Okay.
Oh, this is good. Wait,
Sadly,
play this one. So wait, I got to explain. Oh, no, play it now. We'll explain it. Play it now. Explain it. This is good.
Sadly, much of the sexual activity for minors involves sexual abuse. According to the data, 28% of American children ages 14 to 17 have suffered sexual abuse. Some of this happens in churches, but the majority happens in public schools. According to reports, the sexual abuse of students in schools is more than 100 times the abuse in churches. Childhood sexual
Dude,
desire.
stop it. Okay.
It's just way off topic. Why is he even doing that?
Again, well, he's setting up the poison. Well, it happens in churches and in schools, whatever. It also happens in mosques. So what? That's not the idea.
It's endorsed to happen in mosques. There's a difference.
Exactly. But what he's endorsing is having sexual abuse of children. You're just calling it marriage. You're just saying that the perpetrator, the pervert, okay, in Kenny's words, the pervert, should be allowed to marry. Therefore, it's it's not sexual abuse no more. But it gets better, dude. I mean, not better, but worse for him. I mean, really, this dude is just. But he's a true believer in Islam. He
What
really
percentage?
is.
What percentage did he say of Americans suffer sexual abuse? What was the percentage he said?
Oh, who knows? In his
I
mind,
think
it's
something like
1,000%.
28%. I think he said.
Yeah.
It was a pretty high number.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They just throw out statistics. You know, they're the crowd of one woman is raped in America every 45 seconds. Yeah,
I would wonder, what is the number of sexual assaults that occurred during the Hajj?
like a lot. But either way,
They don't get reported, so we can never know the vast majority.
Right, and that's the point. In a society, okay, let's just wrap your mind around this. Okay, in a society where he is saying that you do marry girls off at very young ages, where these girls do not ever have these opportunities that he's talking about, going to college and all this, that, and the other. But and yet, when they go to their most holy, most profoundly holy
place,
place, and do these rituals, they are still abusing women at exponential rates. In a place where you're supposed to be getting in touch and communing with God, they're still doing this. And so he's going to lecture us that we have to give up all of our Western values and freedoms and allow our little girls to get raped by these scumbag old men. I'm sorry, it's not going to work out in the aggregate. It's sick, is what it is.
Okay, well, yeah, it's very sick because again, his solution to this, okay, is to have the abuser marry the victim, and then it's holla. Go ahead and play the next clip. I'm not sure what this clip is, but I know it's relative to something.
Childhood sexual desire from puberty is an unstoppable biological force. How does one channel those desires is the question, and Western society channels it through fornication, masturbation, and porn. In the best case, and in the worst case, the sexualization and fetishization of children as young as 4.
Okay, so the answer is rape. That's the answer. That's his answer. Rape.
Right.
There you go. That's the answer. We'll fix all this. We'll just rape them little girls.
Exactly. Now that's setting you up for the next clip. Okay. This is 8 minutes and 59 seconds. So I didn't think.
I don't know what you're thinking about. I saw that. I'm not playing something for 8 minutes and 59 seconds.
No, you can fast forward it. No. So
Okay, the next one.
Yeah. No. Play
But
number
what
8.
changed?
Yeah, play number 8. But here, fast forward it. Fast forward it to just pull it up. I'll fast forward it. Go to 2 minutes before the end. Yeah. Start there. I'll tell you. Start there.
An important case is British India, with a population that was 75% Hindu and 25% Muslim. Due partly to Christian missionaries in 1860, the British government set a minimum age of marriage of 10. This was raised to 12 in 1891.
Fast forward another minute. I think I grouped this one up.
And of course, the age of consent is artificially set to match mandatory schooling ages. So in essence, the pedophile is mandated. Now, many will claim that child marriage causes psychological harm. It's interesting that pre-modern people understood trauma and the emotional damage that can come from certain sexual behavior.
Sorry, this is gonna be play it. Yeah, play it.
There's like sodomy and prostitution, but there's no evidence that anyone in pre-modernity viewed adult minor relations as traumatic. Even modern research casts doubt on the existence of psychological trauma from adult minor.
No, this is the important part. Play this part.
Minor sexual relations. Psychologists Bruce Rind, Philip Tromovich, and Robert Bosserman have published meta-studies critically analyzing this. What they discovered is that while there can be problems in some cases, there's no inherent harm with adult minor relationships. The only harm comes from it being socially taboo in current society rather than anything objective or inherent. These psychologists received backlash, as you can imagine, and we can dive deeper into the studies later. But the point is the claim that minor marriage is bad because it objectively causes psychological harm is unproven. So,
dude, no, there's more. There's more. You don't understand. What I am telling you, when I say there is more, play it to the end. It's
bizarre that anyone should depict new modern norms on pedophilia as obvious or eternal invalidity. Such norms were literally inconceivable in the pre-modern period for the many reasons I've mentioned. All this is why attitudes toward child marriage have shifted historically. The burden is on my opponent to give a better explanation for why there was such a radical change in attitude starting about 300 years ago. If child marriage is this objective and universal evil, please explain why 99% of humanity throughout history was blissfully ignorant of this. This is even more of a burden for my opponent to explain because he's a Christian who believes in revelation. Why doesn't the Bible condemn child marriage? The Bible condemns homosexuality, which hasn't been as commonplace historically as child marriage. Was the author of the Bible simply ignorant? Or is it more likely that the author of the Bible is fine with child marriage? That's certainly what countless Christians throughout history believe and practice.
You can stop it. I was wrong.
Now I want to take...
Okay, but did you catch that one part? So he's saying that there's no evidence that adult-child relationships causes trauma or harm. Pay attention to that part because it's another clip where that comes up. But so basically he's saying that, he just cited the study. I mean, you heard it. Well, one of these studies that got several backlash that was saying, hey, pedophilia is good for a child. Okay, it doesn't cause any harm. Okay, the only harm is because you call it taboo, and that's what's wrong with it. So he is advocating for this. Like I said, this dude is a real, true believer in Islam. He really is.
He said an inaccurate position. He said that the Bible would promote child marriage. I would actually say, if I were to argue it, I would say that particularly the New Testament promotes celibacy. It promotes not having sexual activity. The idea of sexual activity is an expiation for people. So, if they can't handle being celibate, then they're supposed to be married. That's what the text says. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, he's a true believing Muslim. That's what he's talking about.
Paul, you're on mute, sir. Paul, you're on mute.
What he did say is the Bible does not refer to child marriage. So he was saying that the Bible is ignorant of it. But the text is not even into sexual activity. You're not supposed to be engaging and doing all this kind of stuff. Exactly. You're
very
right.
clear
You're right
about that.
Abstinence is required. You're not
in
supposed to be engaging this. And the humorous thing is when you actually look at the book of Genesis, you look at these men when they're getting married, they're in their 40s. Abraham got married in his 40s. Isaac got married in his 40s. I mean, Abraham, we don't exactly know the age. Isaac was in his 40s. Jacob and Esau were in their 40s. Yes, so they're not marrying little babies. Yeah.
Yeah, he also brings up the thing, or the common thing, where Rebecca was 3 years old while she was watering camels and carrying stuff on her shoulders, and she's a super girl, superhuman.
She was called a woman in the Bible. She was called the Bible calls her a woman.
Yes.
By the way, Issa, did you look at any of those Talmudic passages I gave you? Would you have a chance to do that?
I didn't see that, but I would just say that's even interesting to bring up that type of argument, because then his argument would be against maybe Jewish people. It wouldn't be against Christian people, because Christian people take the precedent of the New Covenant of the New Testament. So it doesn't even really matter what happens in the Hebrew Scriptures.
But he's not, folks. He's not even. Okay, he's not even arguing for this. This is where he's allowing us to lose sight of the forest through the trees.
Right.
Right.
He's arguing for child marriage, but he's not just arguing for child marriage. Because, if you got a 16-year-old boy in ages past married a 12, 13-year-old girl, we all know that happened. We probably had grandparents, great grandparents that did something like that. That's not what he's arguing for. He's arguing for a 54-year-old scumbag to try to crawl on top of a 9-year-old little girl. Don't lose sight of what he's arguing for.
Exactly.
He's trying to muddy the water. He's trying to say, well, if this is okay, well, then why do you say that this is okay or isn't okay? Well, we call it pedophilia. It's a known sickness. Everybody knows that to have those types of desires for a little child when you are that old, when you are that age, when you every cell in your body ought to be screaming to protect a little girl like that. Now you want to try to take advantage of a little girl like that is sick.
Yeah,
and this is what he's arguing for. He's not arguing for letting, a 14 marry a 12-year-old. No, he's arguing to let a 54-year-old scumbag to crawl on top of a little girl and justify it.
Exactly. So that's where he's kind of confusing the things. Child marriages.
I think there's an important point he misses is that the Bible specifically condemns those who would harm children.
This is true.
Exactly.
And that it would be better for a millstone to be hung around their neck.
Yes. Cast into the sea.
And cast into the deepest sea. Yes.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, that's our God, whereas Islam doesn't have Yahweh. Doesn't have Yahweh that his word has come in the flesh. So he's fighting after his false God, and we're displaying the true God with the scriptures. Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah. So, but if you notice, he actually says in this point where he's quoting a study, he says adult minor relations. That's what we're talking about. Not child marriages per se, where children get married, okay, or within the same age range, Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, 2-3 years, whatever, okay. We are talking adult minor relations, okay. But okay, let's go ahead and play the next clip here.
Have you seen the 1968? I want to put a plug here. You have to see the 1968 Romeo and Juliet. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie, so I recommend it.
I'll check it out. Is that the one with it? No. I saw the modern one where they're in the hood. I thought that was.
Oh yeah. You're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. This one has Olivia Hussey, who is a really because it's a '60s movie. So she was like in Black Christmas, very famous actress back in the day. But watch 1968 Romeo and Juliet. Beautiful movie.
I played Romeo in our high school play. Yeah, that was cool.
Do you have pictures? We should see it.
Rad?
No. Thank God I don't. I'm sure I do somewhere.
What do they call him? They call him radio or what? The radio. Radio. We're far out there, radio.
Oh, dude, no, it was a scandal. It was a scandal because I was a stoner burnout kind of dude. That was the 80s. You know what I mean? A burnout or burner, whatever. And here all of a sudden, I'm freshman. I become Romeo in Romeo and Juliet in the high school play, beating out all the jocks and you know what I mean? It was a big freaking scandal. It really was. Everybody was shocked. It's great, but I didn't want to be Romeo. I wanted to be one of the sword fighters that died right away. But I read it so well that I got the part of Romeo. So anyway, let's go with I don't want to do the one. Let's see, section 4. No, we already covered that. Let's go. Oh, clip number 10, dude. This nails
why
home.
We all need to appreciate.
All right, here we go.
This is why we all need to appreciate Islam and the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In his marriage to Aisha, the mother of the believers, he has provided a timeless example of this institution, which is so desperately necessary for all societies.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh boy.
That is so disgusting.
Sick.
See that? No, but yes, it's disgusting. But think about this. This nails it home. Okay, because remember, he's a true believer in Islam.
Right. He is exposing Islam itself. That's evil.
Timeless example. It is the solution for children sexting each other, for children watching porn. It is the solution for children being raped and molested. It is the solution for all of these things, allowing a 54-year-old man, timeless example, to marry a 9-year-old girl will solve all that. If you just let all the 54-year-old men or 30-year-old men or 40-year-old men or whatever Marry all your young children. It's going to make everything so much better. Yeah. Comments, thoughts?
He's sick.
I feel like I want to go vomit. That's how I feel
well, the
about
thing is,
that
I mean,
comment.
Okay, we can
Did he-
all take a
did he-
5-minute break
did
to
he-
go
did he-
do some voodoo, and I'll meet you right back here when we get done, and so we all feel cleaner. Go ahead, Dominic. Dominic, go ahead. I'm sorry.
did he murder people as well? I mean, did he murder like a lot of like if you're saying
Okay,
these examples, I
off,
mean, there's so many
yeah, off
bad things
topic.
he's done. It's like
Yeah.
like he would be the anti-hero. You wouldn't want to be like him at all. It's like
He's
more like a
afraid to
villain
address
that
that.
you wouldn't want to be.
Yeah, he won't
Eric-
allow that topic to be addressed because it would just show that his perfect concept is a sham.
Okay.
Right.
do we
Yeah,
wanna go to
Eric,
the next one?
may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to correct Rad, okay? Because
Uh-oh.
this Daniel is saying, well, all these kids are getting into pornography, they're masturbating, they're doing all that. So Daniel is saying, well, marry them off.
Yeah.
That's what Daniel is saying. Is
Exactly.
he's making?
That's exactly what Rad said. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, then that's fine. You know, when I was listening to Daniel's debate, he was just making little children like horny little dogs. I remember when I was 9, 10, I wasn't like that. You know, my sister wasn't like that. My brother wasn't like that. So I had 3 siblings, including myself, to look at. We weren't like that. But Daniel's got to put it that way that these little kids are looking at pornography, you know, masturbating and all that, just to make his point. Well, see, marry them off so they won't get into this stuff. This is just pure evil upon children. It's child abuse. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to answer like that what you just said, sister. I think that's an important thing. The concept of what he's saying. He has this he's like this prophet of death. Like he thinks that everything is horrible and evil and everything is going to be destroyed. He's terrified and he's paranoid of our world. Instead of saying, hey, we can make the best of our world and make it the best place it can be. He's saying everything is destroyed. Everything's horrible. We need to act like this is an apocalypse. And I think that that's the wrong way to consider this situation, because that's what it is. He's like, this is an apocalypse, so anything goes. And yeah, no.
Well, notice the one thing that he's doing here. He's saying that since Muhammad did it, Muhammad has set example for all Muslims to follow. So if you are a 54-year-old scumbag and you feel that you have these desires and Allah gives you some little 9-year-old in a dream, then it's perfectly permissible for you to ruin that young girl's entire life by doing those things that Muhammad did to Aisha. And this is what's so disgusting about this in the Western world. And I don't think that he wraps his mind around this. The entire world looks at pedophilia as an abhorrent activity. It looks down. Even criminals today understand that the people who are the worst that need to be protected from the other prisoners, the other murderers, the other rapists, the other thieves or whatever, are the pedophiles. They have to get special protections because everybody recognizes what an evil this is. But yet here you have a guy who pretends to be a prophet in the 7th century, supposedly. I don't believe it as far as I can throw on, but supposedly pretends to be a prophet, and everything that he did and said is supposed to be an example to follow. And since he marries this young little girl, it's perfectly permissible for all time, even in the 21st century. And it's not. It's disgusting. And we know today, because we're able to study these things, what it does to the lives of these little girls, not only psychologically, but physically. When Lloyd was on this show, he was telling us some of the permanent damage, physical damage it was doing to these girls in the most, it makes you cry what this guy does. And this guy pushing it deserves to be in the jail cell with all those other pervs. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
I personally think that after this debate, the FBI should be watching this man every minute of the day, and anybody who listens to him, because he has just espoused crime. on a federal, on a, yeah, it was broadcast, and I would be scared to. I mean, if I was,
Is that
if
a
we weren't
crime?
critiquing this,
Is that a crime? Advocating for pedophilia? Is that a
Yeah.
crime?
that's what we have to be careful of.
It
Well,
should
I'm
be
just-
because you're sending it out
saying.
there. You're
Well,
sending it
yeah.
out there. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
it would be just like saying murder is okay. Just go ahead and do it.
You know, men get put in jail if they find juvenile pornography on their computer. They get put in jail.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree that somebody ought to at least look at, should this be a crime to go ahead and advocate for this type of behavior? Just because, under the guise of religion.
Well,
I mean, that's
Well, they actually
Think
have
about,
groups like NAMBLA that are allowed to exist, which are Man Boy Lovers Association, and
but
Man and
think
boy.
about the
Man and boy
FBI
loving.
and other institutions have been compromised. I mean, they don't even look at the problems that Islam brings or Sharia.
yes,
It's very compromised.
I agree with that. I agree with
Because
that.
they scream that it's a religion, and that needs to be tackled. That's not a religion to take little girls and sell your children. What's he going to do with his wife? He's going to sell his children overseas? If he does that,
No,
he'd probably be in trouble. If he ever has a 9-year-old daughter eventually and sells her to Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or Dubai, he would probably
Connie-
get in trouble
And this is
Connie,
the way
you've nailed it.
because he's an
in truth,
American
he
citizen.
started-
Yes.
You've nailed it, because in the beginning he argued against the sexualization of children.
Yeah, he did.
Yet,
But I'm under the
he's
law.
and he was
Remember,
talking
we're
about his
under the
own
law.
children,
Right.
but at the same time he is at the same time he's like, you shouldn't do that. We should be fighting against it. But it's okay as long as it's Muhammad doing it. So we should do it. Like, what's he gonna do at the age of 54?
right.
He did preface it. Now remember, we're under the laws of the land, right? So I'm not saying to go against the laws of like America, and so that's how he prefaces it. Like, don't touch me just because I'm agreeing to this. So he's just trying to self-protect himself by our own laws.
This is.
I have
where
a feeling we're going to be reading about him shortly. Just
Okay.
saying.
This is where what I teach in class is that I teach that your rights end where my rights begin. So if you're saying, well, this is a freedom of religion practice, this is a religious practice, crawling on top of a 9-year-old little girl when you're 54, that is not protected under the freedom of religion, because her rights begin to be protected from you, the 54-year-old scumbag, from raping her, regardless of whether you call it marriage or not. Okay, are we ready to roll out the next one? Can we take a 5-minute break? I got I have my family here. I'm going to play this. Let's play this, and you guys.
Wait, hold on. I want to play a certain clip because hold on. So let's go with number 13. Let's go with
Medicine.
number 13. Number 13.
You mentioned the period comes.
Okay.
You mentioned the period comes at the end of puberty. Are you saying someone can marry and have sex with someone prior to getting their period?
So according to Islamic law, when the body is fully formed because of puberty, the period comes at Tanner stage 4, which is the end of puberty. So yes, when there are signs of physical maturity, then it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who married 6.
Before the age of menarche, what I'm trying to get.
Before the period.
Okay.
Hear that? Boom. To have sex with a woman before their period. He actually says it. Before the age of menarche, before the period. In Islam, it is permissible. Hear that, Kenny? It is Islam, it is permissible, okay, for a man to have sex with his prepubescent wife before she has her period. Period. End of conversation.
And it's in the Sharia law too. It's jurisprudence. In 9.2, Sharia law, reliance of the traveler.
Yeah, that is in like
It's in there earlier also, and I'm probably going to be covering that soon in the series I'm doing.
yeah.
This is the most horrific thing. I mean, it should be the thing that everybody should just stand up and go, ew, why does everybody want that? I mean, and how can you call that guy perfect? I'm sorry, it screams there's something wrong mentally. And this is one of the reasons why whenever they catch a jihadi in Europe, they call him mentally insane. They say he has mental illness. He wants to have sex with little girls. Or, this is their excuse. It's
Yeah, but Paul, they need to
endorsed.
They need to add he's mentally insane because of Islam.
Yes. I like that.
I get tired of their excuses why they don't do stuff. Or
I look at these excuses, and this is, I don't like that they give them the out, and they're doing it here in the States now, and they've done it in Canada for a while. Why don't we just say what it is? It's not. I won't even call it mental illness. I would call it broken due to Islam.
Okay, I missed. What was the subject of that statement again?
Well, what they're saying is when they arrest somebody, I mean, if they're pedophile, they're jihadi, whatever in Europe, they call them mentally ill. They won't even say they're Muslim.
Right.
But the truth is that they might be mentally ill, but it's all due to Islam. So my definition of what's going on is they are broken due to a faith structure.
What is the cause of the mental illness? And it's the practice that is taught. It's the ideology that's taught in the mosque. So therefore, if you remove the outlaw of the ideology, then that makes all kinds of sense.
And that would, this is what it comes down to. I am not into outlawing ideologies, but I am into this. If you encourage or allow this ideology to spread within your borders, within your area, you have to stop and ask, because Pikachu, I don't even want to say his name at this point. It's so disgusting and vile. And I'm the one who was pointing out his real name. I understand why they want to call him Pikachu. Oh my God. This man who is espousing sex with between a 54-year-old man and a 9-year-old, and says it's the right thing to do as a solution for all time. Oh my gosh. Makes me want to vomit just thinking about somebody having said that.
This is one of the strong. This is why we get all of this pushback when people start, saying, "Well, why do you always criticize Muhammad?" I mean, don't you realize how and this is what we hear, is it not? Do you understand how offensive that is to hear you insult our beloved prophet, who we hold dearer to us than our mothers and our wives and our children? How dare you do that? Well, yes, I'm going to criticize somebody who set an example for you to follow, and that example entails crawling on top of prepubescent.
I think you have to. And I think you have to play the roundabout, Eric. I think you have to play the roundabout instead of just going straight for that. You have to say, "Do you have children?" And they usually say, "Yes." Do you have a little girl? Do you have girls and boys? Yeah. Okay. They say, I usually ask the girl, "Are you okay with your 6-year-old being married off? Are you okay with her having her marriage consummated at the age of 9?" And every Muslim I've actually had this conversation with in the United States has said no. So,
well, yeah, and in addition to that, though, the point that I was driving home is that the argument is that he did so many wonderful things during his life, which, whatever. But that would be the equivalent of a murderer going before a judge and saying, "Well, you killed in cold blood and without malice so and so." Yeah, but judge, look at all the other people that I did not kill. Look at all these other things that I've done with my life. I mean, do I really? Does that really fly? The ultimate crime, that ultimate line that you're willing to cross, which is the taking of another human being's life, or in this case, engaging in this type of activity with a little girl, defines who you are. And to say that that man is supposed to be an example for all time, for everybody to follow, is just absolutely absurd. And then to criticize that, or to criticize those who criticize him, is again a sickness. It is some type of mental derangement. It's some type of sickness to sit there and try to justify this, protect him.
I was just thinking, in the United States and probably in Europe too, or places where the economy is doing a lot better, I bet a lot of these parents, like in Islamic countries, and one of the countries I'm thinking of is Afghanistan, they just have children willy-nilly. They're doing it here too, and they're living off our welfare. But the difference is they get money when they they sell their boys and become baka boys, or they sell their girls to some pervert. I bet they're getting money, and that's how they get some of their income.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're selling them. Yes, and it's in the Sharia too.
Connie, can you show your PTR? Is there a way to show your PTR there? If you look at Connie's picture icon, that is straight from our intro. And what you said, Sharon, is spot on. This is a picture taken from a CNN film clip of a 65-year-old Afghani man, a wealthy man, purchasing a 9-year-old little girl because the family doesn't have any money. So they sold her to this old man so he could do what to her? Well, so he can marry her.
I can barely see it. Even when I make it real large, I can barely see
Well,
it.
it's in the intro.
Okay.
I don't want to play the whole intro, but it's in the intro where it clearly shows this guy pulling her across whatever threshold they're doing. They're going through a contract ceremony, and it's just the most disgusting and evil thing that you can imagine.
And just remember, we got a bunch of Afghanis now who probably are looking at some little boys. Just word is out.
I haven't heard what our country has done with them lately. Has anybody followed up on this to find out where are they being released from these facilities?
I'm going to be following up.
You do know why the refugees are here. The refugees are here because they are defying the ISIS. That's why they're in America.
No, they're not. That's not true.
They're not.
No, they were actually compliant with. That's misinformation. They were not here for that reason. They were here because they jumped on a plane without any. There was no check. There was anything.
I'm gonna side with Isa on this, where he's partly right, and so are you. Not all of them. Not all of them. I guess maybe it was worded wrong.
Most of them
not
are
all
not
of them.
vetted.
Right. Not all of them did not come here for nefarious reasons, because they were part of ISIS or they were part of the Taliban or whatever. Many of them did come here because they were genuinely in fear for their lives, because they did cooperate with our military during the Afghani occupation. However, there is a big percentage, Paul, just like Paul said, there's a big percentage of them here that got on that plane so they could come here and cause all kinds of problems for us. And that's why, when we look at that, when we start criticizing Biden, I know last week I had to stop y'all and pretty much mute everybody because we got on this bandwagon and everybody's like, Biden. Shut up. Where we tried to mitigate it, that pullout was just a complete disaster is what it was. And this is what resulted.
I'd like to add, they've been bussed around just like they're bussing around the illegals. So there's many cities that are getting them that probably are unaware of it until they start seeing them on the streets.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, is
Rad
back?
Yeah, I'm here. Let's go ahead.
Okay, Rad. Let me just tell you something.
What?
Don't be taking any more pictures of your pulled pork rib and sending them to me on my stuff. I'm not interested.
That's perfection, dude. Go ahead and share. No, go ahead and share that hollow pork.
He's like, "Is this make you hungry?" I'm like, "Shut up, man. We're in the middle."
Go ahead and share that. Go ahead and share that. I'm just saying that is perfection. That is 6 hours Action
Oh,
right
because if
there.
I share it, then I got to back out of this whole mess.
Right, okay.
I'll do that. Remind me at the end of the show when it's
All
all
right, so
done.
let's go ahead and play. Let me find the clip that I want you to play here. Okay, so hold on. So so we did the sex before the period. He actually answers it 2 more times, 14A and 14B, where he actually says it again. But we
So
don't
you
have to
can
play
have
for that. But let's go with 15. Let's go with 15. The question is, I'm precursors to
puberty.
puberty. Go ahead, play this.
Okay. This is a minute 20.
15.
So this is going to take a
Play the
long
whole thing.
while.
Play the whole
Okay.
thing.
All right.
His puberty is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is it?
It means starting puberty unusually early, like
Can
beyond
you have,
averages.
Is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
No, marriage can happen. You can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
But could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible. As I stated, that's
what about
the
age
principle.
4?
If there are signs
3.
So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because precocious
I have a
puberty,
study
there are
that shows
no.
it goes as early as 11 months.
All right, well, that's something that the parents would not. See, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to Aisha, her parents were involved. And so she was not living with the Prophet, peace be upon him, even though she was married to him. So the parents have oversight. And sometimes a qadi or a judge can have oversight if the guardians are not capable to make sure that the rights and the physical well-being of a child are not, or a minor, are not harmed by that marriage.
What about, because you've tried to justify sexual slavery after a war?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't.
All right. Okay. So a couple takeaways from that. First of all, that blows Kenny's whole concept of consummation. He actually says that consummation means sexual intercourse. Remember, Kenny was saying that no, it doesn't mean sexual intercourse. It just means completion of a contract. But anyway, but notice, and I do fault the Christian for this. He should have just left it. Instead of peppering with the questions, he should have just left it. Okay, can you have sex with a prepubescent or a precocious a child who suffers at the age of 5 from precocious puberty? He should have just left it with yes. Instead, he kept preparing it. What about age 4? And he said yes. And he said age 3. Well, no, that's biologically impossible. Again, he should have just left it at that. Okay, but notice all of a sudden he now switches the goalpost. He said no, the parents are involved. Again, as you guys are all discussing, again, as happens, what is to prevent a parent? And there are horrible parents out there, whether they're Christian, Muslims, atheists, or whatever, who would willingly sell their child into this. Who do sell their child, not just into this.
Not a Christian parent, though. Not a Christian parent. Not a Christian parent. Jeez.
Well, people call themselves Christian. Okay.
Right. Yeah. False Christians. Yes.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, you have this just normally, where drug addicts, will sell their child, okay, into horrible things, okay. So what's to prevent that? Okay, but either way, notice what he says here: a child at the age of 5 going through a horrible medical condition called precocious puberty, okay, which is deadly, okay, it can be deadly, okay. Then it's perfectly hollow from Allah for a 54-year-old man like Muhammad to marry her and have sex with her. I mean this again, this is a real Muslim. This is a Muslim who believes Islam. This is a Muslim who believes Prophet Muhammad, whatever, is the perfect example to mankind. He believes that marrying that 54, that the solution to all of teenage or puberty problems are to marry off the girls at a very early age. Now, I will say this. Let me just say this. There is a problem in these cults that do this. Okay, those Mormon cults. Okay, as well as other places where the older men are snatching up all the young girls, and the poor teenage boys, they got no one to marry in these cults. So they're like, what are we going to do? And no, this has caused bloodshed and rebellion and all kinds of things, okay? That one dude, what's his name? He just got busted and went to prison a couple years ago. Mormon guy from thinking that they were living in New Mexico.
Right.
But no,
Yeah, I know what
that
you're
was
talking about.
that's they turned him in because of this. And they would do it.
Wade Jeffers,
Yeah,
something
Wade
like
Jeffers. Yeah.
Something
No,
like
remember because what
that.
they
Warren
would do,
Jeffs. There you go, Warren Jeffs.
they would just banish all the teenage boys because the older men were snagging up all these young girls for themselves. And that is the problem that you create, okay? So no, I mean, even on that, let's say, okay, that is the solution. No, it's not, because you are creating even more problems on that level, okay? Islam is not the solution. Islam actually is the problem. But anyway, go ahead and talk amongst yourselves.
Amen.
Okay, here's a perception of mine. Okay, we've listened the last 3 weeks of a certain individual from Houston who calls himself an imam belabor the point that the age of Aisha was not 9 years old, and he's going out of his way to engage the kuffar to convince us that she was not 9 years old, and that we are absolutely wrong in our assessment and don't know Islamic doctrine. We don't know Islamic sources, even though we quote them for them, show them in black and white what they say, and all of the tasphere that goes along with it, and the long history of these child marriages to these old scumbags throughout Islamic history. But no. This individual from Houston who calls himself an imam focuses on us. My question is, why in the Hades doesn't he challenge this Daniel Pikachu to a debate and focus on those people within his own religion who actually believe this and who actually practice this? Why is he more focused on telling us what we should believe about Muhammad? Why isn't he more focused on correcting those people within Islam? Why don't we see that? Why don't we see a campaign? Why don't we see a campaign to do that?
Yeah.
I have the answer. I think he's scared that he'll be labeled an apostate and they might take action.
Oh, of course he's scared. And,
no, he's not scared.
So Kenny's scared of debating
tell me to shut up.
somebody like Daniel.
You see what he does.
Pikachu. I bet the coward Kenny, I'm going to say the coward Kenny, has no guts to challenge this Pikachu to a debate because he's not man enough to debate him, is what it comes down to. I'll say it.
Well, I sent them both an email, unbeknownst to each of them, but I did send Kenny an email, even though he sent information down.
Okay, Red. What did you do? What did you say that again?
I sent Kenny an email. I know I broke the law, I broke the code, but I did. But now it could be because he has me blocked. I don't know. But Kenny, seriously, I would actually pay good money to see that debate. Not so much between Kenny and this dude, but between any non-believing Muslim, okay, who does not believe in the superiority of the Prophet, who does not believe in the dominance and predominance of the actual Hadith scripture, to challenge one of these true believing Muslims to a debate. And they will get destroyed. There was actually, that was one of my things during the ISIS period when I was on Pal Talk. I was actually telling these Muslims, why don't you go in these rooms and challenge these ISIS Muslims? If what you're saying is true about Islam, I remember it was, what's his name, the little demon. I won't mention his name, but you know how I'm talking about, the original doxer. Okay, the dude that was in Canada.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. The imp from Narnia.
Yeah. Okay, I remember he actually responded to me, no, I'm not going to get my head chopped off for your pleasure, because they knew. Okay. But no, seriously, Kenny, I don't think this dude, he's Harvard educated, right? I think you guys said.
Yes, he is a Harvard.
I don't think
he went to school at Harvard. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's interesting. It doesn't say that he finished it. That's the interesting part of that.
Don't say the demon's name out loud.
We didn't.
Anyway. No, someone posted it in there.
I would never. Anyway. I would never say the guy's name out loud. I would. Not under the show.
Well, from what I've heard at Harvard, if you just attend 1 year, you've made it. You got $100,000 a year job. If you just completed 1 year, I mean that's pretty much all what it takes now. But anyway, no, I would love to see that. I would pay good money. I would help raise money to sponsor that debate. Okay, seriously, Ken, I'm not making this up. Let's see back to back prove Islam, prove your Kenny Islam is the true Islam.
Maybe have a GoFundMe of some sort. No,
Exactly.
never mind. I don't want to.
I would
I
pay
don't.
good money for that, though. I
have
really
no-
would,
I
to
have no
watch that debate.
I have
Kenny
no
and Daniel.
Well,
Who would win? Who do you think would win between Kenny or because there's both?
Regardless
Kenny
of
would
both
win.
losing.
Kenny
in kind of
debates,
like
he'll believe he won.
Regardless, Kenny would win
unless he
the
gets
other Muslim
his
described.
life ended as a result.
Yeah.
And we don't want that. And we don't want that.
No, it's not something we want.
Right,
But that's
right.
the only way I think he'd concede that he lost, or
But
if somebody put out a. Yeah.
Here's the thing. There was an actual debate between Amjan Chowdhury, the ISIS supporter in the UK, and one of the original dudes of Muslim Debate Initiative. I forgot his name. He's still around. What's his name? I can't think of his name. But anyway, they debated on one of those British TV shows, and Amjan Chowdhury just completely and totally embarrassed him. He's like, "What are you talking about? You have no idea what the Hadith says. You have no idea of any scholarship." Actually, this dude said, no, it's impossible for ISIS to be the caliphate, because in order to be the caliphate, you gotta secure your territory. ISIS doesn't have an air force, so therefore they're not securing their territory. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? Did Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all the caliph, did they have an air force? No, and their territory was always constantly in flux. Okay, you know what I mean? No, it was just totally embarrassing. But they will be ashamed, because they are ashamed of their religion. The only reason they accept Islam, it is actually out of spite. It's actually out of an anger and an hatred. For some reason, I don't know why. It's supernatural or what, but these people really just reject God. They hate Christ. And that is the simple reason for it. Okay? And they hooked onto this Islam that gives them some kind of purpose, some kind of direction. Okay, whatever. Others, pick other things. But either way, this is what they do, and they honestly, when they are confronted with these cold hard facts about Islam, could you imagine? Let me put this one out, and I'll finish up with this. Could you imagine if you thought Superman was real? And you really believe this beyond any rational, reasonable doubt, Superman was real. And then you found out that Superman was really a criminal. What would you do? You have a choice. You can either leave the belief in Superman, or you can reject all the evidence that says Superman is a criminal. They just choose to reject all the evidence that Muhammad is actually not a super, not a.
Many do convert or get out of Islam. Many do. Some do become Christians, and others become atheists.
Yes, they leave that Allah, because once they read it, that one lady, she wanted to teach her children Islam. So she says, well, I, as mom, I need to read upon Muhammad first before, I teach them. She read, and she's like, no way. She left Islam. She soon came to Christ, and she was like, there's no way I would teach my children about Muhammad. She came to Christ. She was on Hatun's channel and gave her testimony, and that was part of her testimony. Beautiful.
That's great. A lot of the stuff, though, a lot of the information of people leaving is not being told to us, because they would probably get their heads cut off or stoned to death or something like that.
Okay, what I do know is that you guys were correct when you alluded to the fact that there has to be some type of derision to defend this type of behavior, because this is the reaction that you get is this hostility towards anybody that would do let's just be honest, do a show like this, showing, okay, this is what you guys believe. This is what when we compare to what Muhammad did to little Aisha, and this is what society calls him, and they will do everything that they possibly can to either divert, like Kenny did in his debate, or to justify, like Pikachu is doing here. And it is a It's almost a demonic blindness, and I don't mind saying that. You have to be demonically blinded to try to defend something like this. And I'm not, and the thing that Kenny, I'll just say that up front, the thing that Kenny struggles with is that he has a greater sense of morality than what Muhammad did. He'll never admit that, but according to the Islamic sources, all of the Sahih Hadith that have been compiled and we're supposed to trust, he says not to trust, say that this is what this guy did. And he knows intuitively, this is Romans 1 stuff, folks. God has written this law in our heart. We know intuitively that it is wrong for a grown man to do this to a little girl. And to have somebody to try to defend it, whether he's lying about the sources or whether that he's saying that, well, this is something perfectly natural and that we should allow this to happen because everybody's hormones are changing. This is evil. Evil defending evil. Okay.
Yes.
Can we go over to the next one, or are we still have something to say here about this? Rad, are you checking on your pulled pork again? Hold on, let me check the private chat. No, evidently he's not. He said that he would let us know when he was out there checking on his pork, but evidently he is. We're going to go to the next one without him. How's that? Do we dare do this? Okay.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it.
This one's going to make you mad because this one deals with sexual slavery. It'll teach him a lesson.
What about, because you've tried to justify sexual slavery after a war. So what if a man finds a 7-year-old, let's say, starter period? Could he take her back as a sex slave?
So that's a whole different debate on slavery and concubinage.
I'm just talking about the minor aspect. Would that be fine?
Yeah, so if a girl is any age, she can be taken as
a sex slave, right?
Yeah, as opposed to being left to die after war.
So women can't take care of themselves. They would need to be taken by the men because they're too capable of caring for themselves.
Only about 10 seconds left.
Yeah, a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8.
What about, because you've tried.
Okay, that's okay.
Wow. Do you mind if I say something really quick?
Sure, go ahead.
It's like the thing that is disgusting about what his argument is. His argument basically is, wow, look, they're on the battlefield. They're going to die. So, we're helping them. It's like the most sickest, like serial killer, sadistic mentality. You go and murder a person's family, and then you're like, I'm helping them by taking them back to my house and assaulting them. I'm like, this is insanity. What kind of argument is this? I mean, the dude needed to push back. If I was debating him, I'm like, no. You're not going to get away with this argument that you're saying. You said it's okay to kill this person's family. Also, why would the woman be on the battlefield? She's not going to be on the battlefield. She's going to be at her home, particularly in the 7th century. That's not what was happening. She's not a druid in the Celtic Ireland. You know what I mean? That's not what's happening. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I'm like, wow, it's extremely offensive, his argument that he's making.
Yes, so he's trying to justify it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has actually justified is that during war, when the father and the sons are killed on the battlefield, they can go into the home, take the children as sex slaves. That's what that man just did.
And I'm going to say, if it was me, if I was a little girl and 7-year-olds, I'd say, kill me. Let me die. I don't want to be saved by you. You just killed my family. I'm going to hate you for the rest of my life. Why the heck would I ever want to be near you? You murdered my family, and then you're going to, take away my dignity? My
6-year-old,
whatever
a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, they have no clue. They have no clue. I mean,
they will find out, though. They're going to find out, though.
They will.
And they're going to be resentful.
They will wish for death. There's not a question about what that means, but that is the truth, is those children, they may think they are being saved when they're picked up, but they are being given something that's worse than death.
Yeah, and Paul, there's the little girls have been saying that if you're going to sell me off, I'll kill myself. They're already saying this because they know this is so wrong. I don't want to live under this condition. I'm just a little child.
And children aren't that stupid. If you say, where's mommy and daddy? Mommy and daddy are on, who's this strange man? Why is this strange man coming into my house and taking me away from home? Where's mommy and daddy? I think that they're not No, children are not stupid. They would know that. It's kind of clear.
And that to him is not even allowed to be part of the argument, because once you start discussing where's mommy and daddy, he has to openly admit they just killed them so they can steal the children. And that is, sadly, what is currently happening in Africa and in the Middle East and wherever jihad is running rampant.
It's been going on for 1,400 years.
Yes.
It's sickening that he made that argument.
Notice, well, I'm sorry, I do fault the Christian, because he should have left it alone just at the children, but instead he deflected and said, "What? So women?" Well, actually, no, I don't fault him for that. Come to think of it,
He actually went down to point.
Yeah.
He needed to drive down to that 4-year-old. He wants everybody to hear that this man justifies taking a 4-year-old as a sex slave.
But he actually did, because if you notice, replay it, because if you notice that's what the Christian does. He says, so what? Women can't take care of themselves, but the dude comes back and he says, "No, I'm talking about the children." The Muslim says that, so he actually did kind of nail it home. But I just think he just should have nailed it home even better. That's what I'm saying. Just let that hang there, okay? That because he does say, yes, a child at any age they can be taken as a sex slave. I mean, I don't know if you caught that, but he does say that they can be taken at any age as a sex slave.
Notice what his excuse was, though.
Otherwise, they'd starve.
His excuse was to preserve the life of the girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Connie hit the nail on the head. Go ahead and kill me. I'm not. And see,
right. Yeah.
Muhammad set the example for this. I can't remember which tribe they had conquered, but they conquered this tribe, and the leader of whatever tribe it was is killed, and then he marries that guy's wife the same day that him and his followers killed her husband and her family.
So I would have a counter argument to this. If I was debating this situation, I'd said, you're doing divine war. You're doing a struggle in the name of God, the most beneficent, the most loving, the most merciful. Why wouldn't God send a light beam down onto the people and transform their hearts? Why do I need to slaughter and murder them? This makes no sense to me. If I have God on my side, I don't need to kill anyone. You know what I mean? Especially if I'm, like a super ubermensch type of person, I don't need to fight and kill, because God is on my side. It's an interesting story in the Hebrew scriptures about the Ark of the Covenant. What happened was the Israelites were using the Ark of the Covenant. They brought it out to the battlefield, and they weren't supposed to do it. And what happens is they got just defeated because they didn't follow what they were supposed to do. And then what happened was the Philistines took the Ark of the Covenant and brought it back to their enclave, into their palace. And they opened the Ark of the Covenant and it destroyed them. And then with the remnants of that group brought back the Ark of the Covenant and said, "We don't want to have anything to do with this." So I'm like, if God is on your side and God is the most powerful entity, then why would you need to kill? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
All right, let me just do an admin thing. Everybody that's listening or watching right now, do me a favor and go in and like the show and put some type of comment down below if you can, whether you enjoy it. Even if you feel like you need to do some voodoo, go ahead and put "I'm doing voodoo, leave me alone," Kafir, or whatever you want to write. Just go ahead and do that. And yeah, that was the Philistines that had got the Ark of the Covenant from the Jews. You're absolutely right on that, Isa. But what was I saying? We were talking about sex slaves on this, and this is where we come up with that adage, that which your right hand possesses. Well, what is your right hand? Your right hand is a strong hand, and those women are not forbidden to you. And this is where we have, again, Muhammad setting an example for all time for them to follow. And then this guy, this Pikachu guy, is taking it to the most extreme level, saying, okay, it's not only the women, but it's also the little girls. You can treat these women and these little girls in the most inhumane way that you possibly want to. Why? Because you've been conquered in battle. And we all know that since you've been conquered in battle, we can do whatever the heck we want to. And this is where we look at today's norms, today's morals are not lining up with that which was established by a caravan robber 1,400 years ago. And there's no amount of rehabilitation that you're going to be able to provide in order to get this guy.
And this is real,
go ahead, Red. I'll go after you.
Well, no, I was just saying, and this is real Islam, Kenny. Kenny, if you're Kenny Islam, is real Islam, you need to debate this dude, because these are the real Muslims that we are learning Islam from. We're not learning it from you because we already know your Islam is not Islam. We're learning it, okay, from real Muslims, not from people who are bachelor or are freshman doctoral students, not from people who read, Encyclopedia Britannica or American Encyclopedia or the Encyclopedia on Islam. No, that's not who we're learning Islam from. We're learning Islam from the actual people who believe Islam, okay, and believe the Islamic sources. So if they're wrong, you need, if your Islam is right, you need to debate them. You need to sit there and call them out and say, what you are saying is a blasphemy. What you are saying is wrong. What you are saying is not true Islam, because you have the Islam, okay? You have the knowledge, okay, that they, for some reason, do not have.
I
Okay?
100% agree. I agree with that. Muslims need to be battling these terrible ideas. They can't accept that. If they need to challenge it.
And I look at it this way: if they do that,
thank you, Nicodemus.
If they dare to do it, I mean, this is what the truth of the matter is. They don't have strong enough faith to do this. See, Christians, Jews, whoever, Hindus, everybody else in the world will call them out for this disgusting, vile faith structure that endorses pedophilia. But they are afraid to confront it themselves.
And why is that, Paul?
Fear of death, because you're not allowed to question.
Exactly. And where do we find that? Oh, hold on. Wait a minute.
Reliance
right
of the
here.
traveler.
Right here, right there in your Sharia. It's right there. We've read it 100 times on this show. When you dare to question the consensus, anything that's consensus is considered blasphemy, and blasphemy is punishable by what? By death. So
you are considered. Actually, it's worse. It's not blasphemy. It's they label you an apostate. And
well, that's the thing. Blasphemy is apostasy, though.
Well, no, to them, blasphemy is actually somewhat a sideline. But once you get labeled an apostate, you can be killed. And this is where Kenny and where all these pretenders, the Navy guy, which and the Pikachu wannabe of lesbian Islam from Canada. I look at their disgusting, vile, pretend Islam, and they will not address these things. What happens? I mean, she calls herself a lesbian Muslim up in Canada, and she won't address, well, what do the Muslims do to lesbians? They kill them. What did Muslims do to gay people? They killed them. It is required under Sharia. Why don't the moderates openly go to these mosques and say, hey, let's have a debate? Because they know there would be a fatwa written.
Well, here's what it says about
I would just add one thing, Brother Paul. I just want to add one thing. I think if you take the most extreme Islamic position, I don't think lesbians would have as much of a problem, because there's two concepts in homosexuality, or those type, not homosexuality, but lewd acts. That's what it's called in Arabic. It's called sihak and liwat. Sihak means pounding, and that's referring to lesbianism, and liwat is sodomy. So sodomy is punishable by death. Sihak may be overlooked. Lesbianism might be overlooked, or there might be a way.
They have recently, there's been actual recorded events of murders of lesbians in Islamic run countries. So it's probably inconsistently enforced. I won't say otherwise, but it has been done. And they do use the scholarly consensus when they do condemn those acts.
Okay, I wanted to add one more thing that when we were talking about apostasy and why they do not talk out about this is because it says right here, it says leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief. And when a person is to reach puberty, is saying involuntary apostatize from Islam, he deserves to be killed. Okay, so you turn the page on this book, you go to page 596, and then it says towards the bottom here, acts that entail leaving Islam, and you go to the next page, and there's two things here. Number one, to revile Allah or his messenger. So if you revile Muhammad and you talk bad about Muhammad, that's considered apostasy, and apostasy is considered to be punishable by death. Or, and this is what we were discussing, to do.
Hey, can you go back just a second? Because you said something that's extremely important. It was revile Allah, and what was the other part?
And his messenger, not and or his messenger. I'm sorry.
So that's and lawgiver.
And then hold on. Here's the best part: to revile Allah or his messenger, and then in parentheses it says, "Allah bless him and give him peace." Nothing about Allah, praise Allah or anything, but bless and give Muhammad peace. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
So the lawgiver is Allah or Muhammad, which means again we have.
It says to revile him. Is what it says.
Yeah, no, but the lawgiver in Sharia is Allah or Muhammad. So we have another example of shirk in this statement.
That's what it is.
Apostasy.
Okay, you're absolutely right, but that's going down another rabbit trail. But then it goes on to say to deny any verse of the Quran or anything by which scholarly consensus belongs to it, or to add a verse that does not belong to it. So this is why these guys are never going to publicly say these things that we have spoken of. And the reason why is because to do that is considered to be apostasy. And what does apostasy entail? Here in the West, it's not a big deal. You can say whatever you want to, in most circles anyway. But if Kenny or somebody who believes the things that he does would go to a Sharia compliant country and try to teach these things, I'm not saying that they would just point him out right away and kill him. But if he tried to teach these things in a mosque openly, yeah, I bet he'd have a hard time surviving that one, based on what we've seen by example. All right, are we able to finish this up in 10 minutes? Because I really do have to go. Rad, where are you? Rad, where are you? Rad, he's out cooking. Let's go ahead and go to the next clip.
All right.
Okay, the next clip is Muslim defends. Oh my gosh, this is gross. There we go. Oh my.
Meta-analyses revealed that students with this kind of child sexual abuse were on average.
Stop. Okay, first of all, I wasn't cooking, I was eating. And yeah, ribs are fall off the bone tender, and they're tasty. But anyway, rewind and play it. So he was talking about this study that was actually panned. It's an outlier study. It was actually panned, and actually Congress got involved, and it was pulled from Psychology Today or whatever. I remember this study. Yeah, no, this was a big deal. But this was like 10 years ago. Now they're going back to this, and they're saying, no, pedophilia is a good thing. But anyway, go ahead and listen to this. He quotes from this study. But I want you to understand what the real trauma is. The trauma is not being sexually molested by a parent or a family member. No, go ahead, play it. Listen.
Meta-analyses revealed that students with this kind of child sexual abuse were on average slightly less well-adjusted than controls. However, this poor adjustment could not be attributed to the sexual interaction because family environment was consistently confounded with that behavior. Family environment explained considerably more adjustment variance than the actual sexual act. So what he's saying, to summarize, is that you can't isolate the sexual act. What's happening is children are getting molested, children are getting abused by their family members or in this bad environment, and that bad environment or this abusive parent, that's what's causing the slightly lower adjustment levels or the trauma. It's not the sex itself. It's not the sexual act itself. And again, Rind is not looking at marriage. He's not looking at these kinds of relationships that have existed again throughout history.
You're right.
So you see there, people, crack doesn't kill you. Methamphetamine doesn't kill you. Fentanyl doesn't kill you. It's the bad environment of living homeless on the street.
So he ignored the whole I'm sorry, Red. He ignored the word trauma. He skipped over the discussion was about trauma. He never addressed what the trauma was.
Well,
That disgusting pervert.
Well, he actually blames the no. So you have a family member or a parent who is sexually molesting a child, and it's not the actual sex that is causing the trauma. It's the actual fact that the parent is bad in other ways. It's a bad what? Like I said, crystal meth does not kill you. It's living on the street that causes the overdose. I mean, no, seriously, it is. This is just the utter stupidity, okay, of Islam. This is what they are forced to. The true believers in Islam. This is what they are forced to stoop to defend their prophet. I mean, just simply amazing. Anyway, thoughts, opinions from anybody else?
Okay, so what is he defending here? It's okay to molest a little girl, and
Well,
it's the
no.
parents' fault. Is that what he's saying?
He's quoting a study, okay, that was done, okay, saying that actually I think it's man boy love or pedophilia love is actually very healthy for a child, but if the parent who is doing this is a good parent, pretty much is what they're saying. So yes.
Gross.
That is the summary of what he said. That would be the summary of what he said.
And it's only trauma for two reasons, because he said it before, because he was quoted from it before that we played. It's only trauma because the man boy love or the pedophilia love between the parent and the child or relative and the child or someone in the family circle and the child who is an adult who is molesting or raping a child. It's only bad if because of the stigma that is put on it. See, that's what causes the trauma. It's the stigma of us saying it's bad, and two, it's also what is actually bad if it does cause them trauma. It's because the parent or the household environment is a bad environment. Like,
this is the same excuse. Okay, this is the same excuse that
it's also
provided
no
to people
consent.
who are.
There's no consent.
Am I muted?
They don't have consent in this situation, and they're not cognitively development. If you study developmental psychology, you know it's insanity, that proposition.
But under Sharia, silence is consent.
Yes.
Well, it's very interesting because silence can be rejection as well. Silence does not mean consent. That's ridiculous.
Well, in Islam, no, silence is consent. If
It
the
says
child
it word for
if the
word,
child
silence
quiet,
is
yeah.
consent.
If the child does not answer, then that means she is consented to the relationship. But either way, I mean, this is just okay. Like I said, the guy gave better arguments than Kenny did. Now, this does not mean that his arguments are going to convince me to convert to Islam. It's going to actually repulse me away from Islam. Okay, and the bad arguments that Kenny gave are not going to convince me to join Islam, but they're not going to repulse me to be away from it. That's just going to be like, because you're stupid. You know what I'm saying? What kind of goofy religion are you worshiping where you have to reject all your holy scripture just to, try and prop up this tin god you have of yours? You know what I mean? So either way, so you got Kenny giving bad arguments, okay, that just causes you to laugh at Islam or his version of Islam, and then you got this guy giving the good Islamic arguments, okay, that causes you to be repulsed by Islam.
Yeah, I want to address something that got put up here in chat. How do you answer a Muslim who says Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world? And this is a true statement. It is. Statistically, it is the fastest growing religion. And the reason why it's the fastest growing religion is not because of the convincing, how convincing the religion is or evidence for it. It's the fastest growing religion is because Muslims on average have the highest birth rate. And the reason why they have the highest birth rate is because they can marry more than one woman. And those women are not given the same opportunities as women are in what we would find in the Judeo-Christian countries. So therefore, that their sole purpose is bearing children, and they have several children. So that is the straight, direct answer to this, and it has nothing to do with the truthfulness of the religion, and everything to do with the repressive attitudes that exist predominantly within that culture.
It ignores a person's choice for faith. That claim.
Right. And okay, should we be concerned about? That's the second part of the question, and the answer is no. And the reason why is that the apostasy rate that we see in Islam today has been described as an avalanche, and this is a true statement. The apostasy rate in many Islamic countries today is growing exponentially, and the reason why is now people are coming to the realization that, number one, the fundamental tenets of Islam are simply not true. They cannot prove it historically in any sense of the word when we start doing history. But the second thing is that they are now able to openly examine criticisms of Muhammad through social media, through the internet, and they are now subjected to these criticisms, and they're able to make their own judgments and not necessarily depend upon the judgments of their scholars or of their imams. So it's not. I'm not personally concerned about it, and that's because I'm an old guy, and by the time they become a majority religion in the world, I'll probably be dead. But that's not why I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned about it because Islam is finally now being subjected to the type of criticism that Christianity has been subjected to for centuries, and the more that this happens and the more it proliferates, the sure people are going to understand how it is indeed a false tautology, and that people will then start leaving it en masse. So I'm not.
Let me add to that and put this in a more theological perspective. Okay, yes, okay, so Satan is going to take over the world for a time being, for a season. Okay, many shall fall away, okay, according to the Bible. Okay, and when Christ comes back and returns, there's only going to be a remnant, the righteous remnant, that holds firm. Okay, so fine, the Satanists, the atheists, the trans kids movements, the secularists, the Islamists, they can have this world for a time being, for a season. But when he comes and returns, they're all going to be destroyed, and his righteous remnant, those that held firm in the belief, shall reign supreme. So when they say that, oh, fastest growing religion, I counter and say, no, actually atheism, but so what? Okay, it doesn't matter. All the world can be Islam. And as long as there is one Christian, one righteous remnant, okay, he shall reign supreme. Okay, when Christ comes to return. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, so yeah, that's not even a non-starter for me. That's just kind of a foolish concept when they say that. Okay, because Christianity to me, actually Christianity biblically is an exclusive religion, not an inclusive religion. He drove them away. He did not say, yes, come and follow me. No, well, he didn't say come and follow me. But when they showed up in mass, he told them things that they could not bear to hear, and he drove them away. Okay, deliberately, until only the 12 were left. Okay, and he is only after his sheep. He is only after his flock. He is only after the true remnant of Israel that is Israel, because not everyone who is from Israel is Israel, because we are the children of the spiritual birth, not of the fleshly birth. And that is the difference. And I'm done preaching. Sorry for preaching my Calvinism.
Oh, I wanted to add the social dynamic of this situation. Wow, hallelujah, right? I wanted to add a social dynamic to this too. What is the statistic looking at? It says, the most people joining into the religion are Muslims. Okay, so how do we define what a Muslim is? How about if I'm an LGBTQIA plus Muslim? A lot of the very conservative Muslims will say I'm not a Muslim. So this is an interesting thing. How do I bundle up all the people and say, oh, they're all Muslims? This is an interesting thing, and I don't know if you can show this through statistics. Also, how do I prove a person is a Muslim? Let's say by philosophy and belief and theology. Is the theology being tested of this person? Do they take the tenets of, let's say Arkan al-Islam? Do they believe in the 5 pillars of Islam? Do they believe in the creedal statements? These are interesting questions. That's not addressed in the statistic, and that flaw that skews the data of the statistic. Also, we're not looking at the nuns, the people who are leaving religion, as well as Brother Eric was bringing up. We don't know about the people who are leaving religion, right? So this is an important thing to analyze within the data. I don't think that this research is giving us the most accurate assessment. So that needs to be considered.
They cannot give accurate data on how many are apostatizing because revealing they have apostatized puts their life at risk.
Well, God knows what's going on with that, and I think it's become. If you just look at the nation of Iran as an example, would they say 70% of them have left Islam? 70% in the Islamic Republic of Iran. That is pretty telling of what's going on. But God knows, and as I mentioned, and it's a very good question. But I'm not concerned. Yeah, go ahead, Darcy. Of course.
One thing we all seem to keep forgetting is what Islam says about itself. Islam is going to end just as strangely as it began. So we don't, it doesn't matter. It's nothing to be scared of. It's going to end.
Okay.
God
in
willing.
control. God has this. You're right. God has this. He's in control, and we need not worry. Let your hearts not be troubled. Type phrase. Okay, guys, I want to run. I really do, because my grandkids are here and they've been knocking on my window here.
Show
seeing if I'm
show
still
the
here.
product. Show the product and play the cold close.
What product? What are you talking
my
about?
ribs.
He wants you to show off his ribs.
I'm not going to show that.
Show it.
Are you crazy? Why would I want to show that?
Just look at that. Look at those beautiful ribs. Look at that. Bone is pulled back. Fall off the bone. Juicy.
Well, I hope you all enjoy it.
Are
Okay.
those pork ribs?
What's
Are
that?
those pork?
Yeah, they're hollow pork ribs. Those are spare ribs, dude.
Yeah,
Show your pork.
halal ordained pork ribs. Right. All right.
Good.
All right.
Okay, everybody came today. Again, thank you. God bless you for coming, spending your Sunday afternoons with us. I know you could be doing a lot of other things, and I appreciate you coming.
Hey, the cold close.
Everybody.
Yeah,
I'm getting to it, dude. I'm on a roll here. Got me some black. Okay. And then everybody in chat. There's great discussions in chat today, and we appreciate you guys. So God bless everybody, and we'll see you next Sunday in the Cross and Crescent discussion group.
Advanced student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm.
That's all, folks.